All right, I'd like to call this meeting together. Call to order the meeting of Planning and Zoning Commission on August 14th of 2025. The time is 7 o'clock, and we're on schedule. Kathy, could you give us a roll call, please?
Anderson?
Here.
Grimes? Haug?
Here.
Haynes? Here. Young?
Here.
Carlos?
Here.
Ewing? Shepherd?
Here.
Bill?
Here. So, we need to review the minutes of the July 10th, 2025 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes of July 10th, and is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Haynes and bringing it up, and second by Ted Haig. Okay. Motion by, okay, we have that. Is all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our time now is audience time. This is your time. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak on any matter that's not part of the discussions tonight for tonight's agenda? So if you had something completely new, if you want to bring it up, this is your time. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gracia Ramirez.
Oh, yeah, you have to go to the podium.
Do you guys hear me well? Yes. My name is Gracia Ramirez. I live on 415 West Water Street. I am the neighbor of the 421, which is...
Let me stop you there. Is this about the agenda items? The Water Street?
Yes.
Okay, so we will have time for the audience to do that because
Okay.
this is any, thank you for coming up, but this is any business that's other than what the agenda
Understood.
items are.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so you'll have your chance. With no new business, can we go, we can go on to the new business. With no old business, there's no new business, or we go to the new business now. Zoning calendar 2789, zoning calendar, and 2790 are the same property and will be presented together. Staff, please present the matter.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Rachel with the Planning and Zoning Department. I will be presenting tonight on 2789 and 2790. So 2789 is a map amendment to rezone a property from the B4 Downtown District to the HC Health Civic District. And 2790 is a conditional use permit for a homeless shelter in the HC Health Civic District. So this is the 421 West Water Street property. This is located on the southwest corner of our downtown area. The applicant is the Allendale Association. For a little bit more site context, here it is within our city. As you can see, kind of that southwest corner, kind of right near our ravine system. Here's the outside of the building. It is kind of a single unit residential property in appearance. So this property previously operated as a therapeutic group home, or what our Unified Development Ordinance kind of classifies as a community residence. And it's been operating that way since the late 80s, and it ceased operations in the summer of 2024. Now this property, since they are renewing kind of their use with it, they are changing it from more of that group home use to more of a temporary housing program. So this is geared towards adolescent boys aged 14 through 17, about the same age range that they were previously serving, but this is more geared towards temporary housing. They'll also be providing staff supervision, case management, referrals to other services, as well as providing some structured educational programs, social, recreational support, and activities for these residents there. Due to the temporary nature of this housing and the lack of services being provided on-site as opposed to them referring out to other entities, this kind of is classifying it as what we would call a homeless shelter in the Unified Development Ordinance. So still operating similar to how they previously did under their previous license, but this just triggers essentially a different name for it. This use is conditional in the HC district, so that is why they are applying for the map amendment from their current zoning B4 downtown district to the HC Health Civic District. So the map amendment is required for the conditional use permit to be approved. A little bit more about their proposed use. The clientele will be runaway and unhoused adolescent boys aged 14 through 17. There'll be a maximum of 9 residents at any given time. 6 of these residents will be staying for 21 business days or approximately 30 days. And then they'll have 3 beds that have the option for an extended stay up to 120 days. These residents are coming from their homes that they just need to essentially be removed from their home for a short period of time before being reintroduced back into their home. The staffing of this facility is going to have 2 trained professional youth care workers in the daytime and 1 trained staff person in the overnight period. There will always be a staff member when clients are present. There will also be additional on-call staff, so should an emergency or an additional support be necessary, on-call staff will be able to arrive for those overnight situations. There'll also be 24/7 access to their program manager for those clients. A couple key conditions that we did want to outline with this project. Again, similar to what we see with some of our other conditional use permits, maintaining a license, for example, following all life safety. I did want to point out a couple, including visitors and those not admitted to the facility shall not be allowed on the premises unless approved by Allendale staff on a case-by-case basis. So no visitors, family members can't be visiting, friends can't be visiting unless they are approved ahead of time by Allendale. No more than 9 clients may be residing at the facility. This is the cap of the facility. This is how many beds they'll have. This also coincides with their previous use as a community residence, so it's that same beds that they had previously. Clients may not reside at the property for longer than 120 days, so this aligns with their extended stay option for those 3 extra beds, or 3 of the 9 beds to go up to 120-day stay. The facility must also be staffed whenever clients are present. So if there are residents on site, there has to be staff on site. I have also included our standards for the map amendment. So you are going to be looking at some of these standards that were outlined in that staff report, as well as the conditional use findings of fact. Are there any questions at this time for staff?
What triggered the map amendment, if in fact this is the same service that's been provided? It sounds like the same number of residents. Why are we doing a map amendment? What triggered it?
Yeah, great question. So this property, as the former use was the kind of group home, therapeutic home, what we would classify under the Unified Development Ordinance as a group community residence. This requires some sort of kind of like on-site therapeutic services or the residents to have certain disabilities under kind of state law with those different like state entities that do the licensing. So because these clients aren't receiving, like Allendale is not necessarily being the one providing the therapeutic services. They're referring people, they're driving them to their therapeutic services, but they're not the ones providing the services. They're providing like the temporary respite and the case management, but not the actual services, if that makes sense. And then also the kind of the temporary nature of it is what kind of triggered it the most, is these aren't long-term stays. These are, you know, step away from the family for a little bit and then return after 30 days.
Okay, so in fact, it is a different
So the use classification
different
is
use.
different. The age range is the same, the amount of clients is the same. There's just those kind of small details that have shifted, which requires it to be classified as a homeless shelter.
Well, I would suspect that the reason there are a number of people here is trying to understand, number one, that the same number of boys, same ages, are going to be here. that it is a shorter-term nature stay than is currently the case, correct?
So they're not currently operating. It is
But
shorter
it
than their
was
previous.
operating.
Yes.
Okay. And why did it stop operating?
That is a question that the applicant will have to answer for you. I believe it was just due to the grant period kind of ending with DCFS. And then this new program is actually funded through DHS, so the Department of Health Services.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners, from staff? Can the presenter, can the applicant please come forward to be sworn in? Can you please raise your right hand? Please state your name for the record and print your name on the sheet in the podium before leaving. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. Who's going to speak first, and could you tell us your role?
Hi, thank you for having us today. My name is Laura Kramer, and I'm Senior Director of Program Development with Allendale. We appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with the city and our neighbors regarding our proposed use for this program. As people might be aware, Allendale has been part of Lake County since 1897. We're primarily based in Lake Villa, where we have 100 residents that live with us. They're youth ages 7 up to 20 that can stay on campus. We do have a myriad of programs and services for serving families and youth in our community. We've expanded since the 50s when we were an orphanage. We've expanded to have a lot of therapeutic services available for youth. We do provide that 24/7 residential treatment component. Most of the youth in our care are there through the Department of Children and Family Services after enduring extreme trauma and loss, multiple placements as a result of their abuse and neglect. We have also on our main campus a therapeutic day school program, not just for our residents, but for local community schools that refer their students for extra support in the classroom and for use of our career and technical education program on campus. And then we have expanded community services available for Lake County primarily. We do have a foster care program that's been serving youth for 50 years this year. And we also have an intensive in-home program serving families in Lake County only. There's 32 families that receive intensive in-home clinical services as an effort to try to stabilize the youth in the home. So they're in that family unit for up to 10 hours a week doing therapy and therapeutic mentoring and teaching families how to help support their son or daughter. We also then have our shelter and transitional adolescent resource program, which we call STAR for short, because that's kind of a mouthful. And that's the program that we're going to be talking about today, and outpatient services. 40% of our youth do come through Lake County. We do, as an agency, take very serious our ability to provide quality services and accredited services, so you can see the list of all of the different licensures and accreditations that we do have for our treatment programs, including the Homeless Youth Shelter Program. STAR is accredited through the Joint Commission and the Council on Accreditation. So it's a program that, with all of our policies and procedures, we take very serious the care that we're providing our youth. Allendale, like was mentioned earlier, has been part of the Waukegan community. We've had at this particular site on Water Street since 1987. We've partnered with them, but in 1968 we opened a program on Genesee, which currently serves as part of our adolescent resource program for youth experiencing homelessness. They serve 18 to 23-year-olds there. Today our request is to amend our licensure and our ability to serve kids just through from a group home to an emergency shelter, which really is more of an emergency respite stay, so not just serving homeless youth. And so this program, as mentioned by Rachel, is in partnership with the Department of Human Services here in the state of Illinois. We do, the Shelter and Transitional Adolescent Resource Program supports youth and families in crises. So for this 14 to 17-year-old age range, they are kids that are running away or thinking of running away and needing some services. And certainly families in our community are really struggling, not just here in Lake County, but across the state and across the United States. An increase in needs for all community members, especially just having basic needs met. And so our goal is to continue to provide services. So we just wanted to highlight a few needs that statewide, we do have over 1,000 youth that call the national hotline requesting services. They're either on the verge of running away from a situation at home that's unsettling to them. We also have 69% increase in youth and young adults, so 14 to 24-year-olds is that classification in partnership with the Coalition for the Homeless. That is data that they collect. So with Allendale's STAR program, the proposed use, the program, like I mentioned, does have a transitional living spot here in Waukegan already. Our youth emergency shelter, which is just the license and umbrella that would provide this service. Currently, we use this, we have an apartment in Lake Villa that is being used for this purpose now, and our goal is to bring these youth to the Waukegan site. The services will not change. We're fully staffed, as mentioned earlier, and we will provide structured supervision and activities around the clock. So they are kids that will have all the opportunities to have schooling, whether that's electronic and virtual through their homeschool district, or they'll go to school if it's close by. They'll also then have life skill groups, social activity groups, and the structure provided through our programs.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maribel Vinas. I am the program manager for our STAR program. So I just wanted to talk a little bit. You can go to the next slide, or the previous slide. Talk a little bit about our intake process and how extensive it is. Our referral and intake process is designed to ensure that every youth we serve is placed in the right program and receives the right level of care. Referrals for our emergency shelter primarily come from DHS, the Comprehensive Community-Based Youth Service, which is the arm management or the case management arm of DHS. This is done typically by One Hope United and Omni Services. Our transitional living program, our Becker House, the referrals primarily come from self-referrals, local citizens, family members that are calling, police members, hospitals, and also from the Lake County Coalition for the Homeless. So to keep our program safe and effective, we do have very clear admission criteria that is defined and each participant must follow and adhere to in order to remain in the program. Our process is more than just filling a bed. It's making sure that we are providing the appropriate services to our youth in order to create stability for the youth, the staff, and the community, stability and then long-term success. For our outcomes, so just a little bit about the program since it started. So from 2022 to 2025, we have served 44 youth, 9 of those being in our emergency shelter between the ages of 14 and 17. 35 in our TLP beds, and of those currently that are waiting, we do have 15 on our wait list, so it is very clear that the needs are there. We do want to just emphasize that just seeing the numbers, it's tangible. The program is needed within the community. The wait list clearly shows that the demand for the need outweighs the capacity of what we currently have, so we would like to expand the ability to connect the services to the youth in order to avoid that chronic homelessness status for them long term, be able to engage them with their family early on in order to avoid that. A little bit about our youth. So some of our stories, success stories that we've had, we had a participant in our youth shelter whose mother had completed inpatient substance abuse treatment and was unable to care for the youth. And so once once we provided support to him, Mom, the house is stable, he was able to return home successfully. We also had another youth who was living in his aunt's vehicle who had been kicked out. He had nowhere to go. He did have employment full-time. He worked at Amazon and was with our program for about 7 months, was able to utilize the services to get back on his feet, and then long-term, he had an apartment he was able to save, move out on his own, and was successful with the program. Another one of our youths that we had was referred by a local manager at a restaurant. The youth was living on the street and had their items behind a dumpster at the restaurant, so they were able to connect with the program. She was able to develop daily living skills, obtain her documentation, which I'm sure many of you guys have heard is very, very difficult to do. It's a cycle. If you don't have your ID, you don't have your social security card, then you can't get a job, so on and so forth. So the program was able to really help connect her to that, and then eventually get an apartment on her own and be able to support, be able to live on her own in the community. Some of our participants do still join us for our community dinner that we do to create or to continue to have that stability and sense of community within the program. But it just shows that the program has been very successful and they are able to really still connect with the youth that are at our program, but also with their community. Back to Laura.
Sorry. So as far as this request, primarily, we would be working to ensure that the youth have consistent support. As Rachel had shared, part of our program is going to be a hybrid of up to 3 kids staying with an extended capacity under the homeless youth umbrella, but then 6 beds are designated for very temporary respite use to provide youth and families that opportunity to stabilize. Sometimes that requires the youth to be out of the home so we can get services in place and the family dynamic can kind of have a reset. So that is where the 30-day max stay comes for those 6 beds that are contracted with the Department of Human Services. So again, they would be kids coming primarily from Lake County, but there could be kids coming from smaller communities that don't have this shelter crisis respite space. So we will be working through our partnerships with the CCBYS, which stands for Comprehensive Community-Based Youth Services. So that arm of the Department of Human Services is requesting these 6 beds to be placed with Allendale. And like we said earlier, 24-hour supervision, lots of structure and support for these youth and their families. And we're happy to answer any questions that you
Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicants?
I do, of course. Why Waukegan? Downtown.
Well, Allendale has owned this property since 1987, and we don't have any other property available at the moment to house this program.
Thank you.
No other questions? Well, we'll bring up audience first. I have three or four letters of support here that I want to read. Thank you. You can take a seat. Letters of support. The first one is from Rita Mayfield, State Representative of the 60th District. Dear distinguished members of the Waukegan Planning and Zoning Committee, I am writing on behalf of the Allendale Association to express our full support of the development and operation of the Youth Emergency Shelter in Waukegan, Illinois. This initiative is critical and timely response to the growing need for safe, supportive, and immediate shelter services for youth experiencing housing instability, family crisis, and other emergencies. Allendale has been a trusted partner in serving youth and families experiencing various hardships and challenges since 1968. For most 60 years, has continued to adopt and respond to the evolving needs of our community. Waukegan and the broader Lake County area have long struggled with limited emergency housing options specifically tailored for youth. Many youth people are in crisis are left with few alternatives, increasing their vulnerability to exploitation, involvement, and with the justice system, chronic homelessness, and other long-term adverse outcomes. A dedicated youth emergency service shelter will provide more than just a bed. It will offer trauma-informed care, case management, access to mental health resources, and a path towards stability and long-term well-being. This shelter aligns with our shared commitment to the health, safety, and development of vulnerable youth. It reflects best practices in youth services by emphasizing immediate safety while also engaging young people in planning for their futures. The establishment of such a shelter will fill a critical service gap and serve as a vital safety net for youth and families in our community. We commend and strongly support the efforts of those leading this project and urge other community stakeholders and founders to recognize the immense value and urgency of this endeavor. The youth of Waukegan and all of Lake County deserves a community that is responsive to their needs, especially in the moment of crisis. Thank you for your consideration and for your commitment to improve the lives of young people in our region. Sincerely, Rita Mayfield. The second letter I have in the letter of support is from the Lake County Coalition for Homelessness. Dear Waukegan community officials, on behalf of the Lake County Coalition for Homelessness, I am writing to express our full and enthusiastic support for the development and operations of Allendale's STAR program, a youth emergency shelter in Waukegan, Illinois. As an organization dedicated to addressing and ultimately ending homelessness in Lake County, we are accurately aware of the urgent needs for a safe, appropriate, and immediate housing solution for young people experiencing homelessness and housing instability. Currently, our county has extremely limited emergency shelter options specifically designed to serve adolescent youth. This forces too many young people into unsafe environments, unstable couch surfing arrangements, or even the streets, exposing them to increased risks of exploitation, victimization, and long-term homelessness. The Allendale STAR program will address this critical service gap and provide short-term trauma-informed shelter with wraparound services, including case management, mental health support, and family engagement. These services are vital not only for meeting our immediate needs, but also for helping youth build a stable foundation for their futures. We strongly believe that this shelter will be transformative resource in Lake County's continuum of care. The Lake County Coalition for Homelessness is committed to supporting this project and collaborating wherever possible to ensure its success. We encourage community stakeholders, funders, and decision makers to recognize and invest in this essential resource for our county's most vulnerable youth. Thank you for your commitment to create a safer and more supportive community for all young people in Lake County. Sincerely, Eric Foote, President of the Lake County Coalition for Homelessness. Our third one is from the City of Waukegan Planning and Zoning Department. Reason, Allendale Youth Emergency Service. Dear distinguished members of the Waukegan Planning and Zoning Committee, on behalf of the Lake County Health Department Screening, Assessment, and Support Services, acronym is SASS program, I am writing to express our strong support of Allendale's Youth Emergency Shelter in Waukegan, Illinois. As a program, that provides the crisis response of mental health services for youth in psychiatric emergencies. We recognize firsthand the urgent need for a safe, short-term housing option for young people facing acute crises and families in need and support of stabilization. Currently, Lake County is very limited to dedicated emergency shelters tailored specifically to youth. This leaves many vulnerable adolescents with limited or often unsafe options for fleeing situations of abuse, neglect, conflict, and other immediate risks. The insufficient capacity and appropriate temporary placement alternatives often complicate our ability to stabilize youth and connect them to a longer-term support system for treatment. A youth emergency shelter in Waukegan would fill the significant gap in our continuum of care. It would not only provide physical safety and basic needs, but would also offer trauma-informed, youth-centered environments where young people and their families can begin to heal through the support of trained professionals. Such a resource would be a vital complement to our work in crisis stabilization and mental health assessment, ensuring that youths are not dedicated or discharged into unsafe or unstable environments or hospitalized unnecessarily. The SASS program is committed to collaborating with community partners to promote the well-being and safety of children and adolescents in Lake County. We fully support the development of this youth emergency shelter and encourage investment in this critical resource that will benefit the youth and families of our community. Thank you for your attention in this important matter and for your shared commitment to protecting and uplifting our most vulnerable youths. Sincerely, Dustin McKella, I believe, Assistant Clinical Coordinator, Screening Assessment, the Support Services of the SASS Program, Child and Adolescent Behavior Services.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
before you go on with the next one, just for clarification purposes, that letter was addressed to the Planning and Zoning Department, not from the Planning and Zoning Department.
Yes,
Thank you,
I
sir.
do. I noticed that. It is from the Lake County Department of Human Supports. That's my error. I apologize for that. And our final letter of support is from Stabenhouse. I am writing to express my support for the proposed Allendale STARS program's use of 221 Water Street to serve up 9 young people experiencing homelessness with transitional housing. Allendale has the expertise, staff, and experience not only of housing these young men, but also putting them in a path for better life. Homelessness is not just a concern, but a pressing issue in our Lake County community. With an alarming number of unhoused residents, among the most tragic are boys aged 14 to 18 who lack the maturity, skills, and resources to make their way through the world alone and homelessness. The Allendale STARS program will provide the oversight and guidance to shepherd these youths on their way to productive adult lives. This transitional program is small and focused and will serve a select group of those who are not addicted, gang affiliated, or have histories of physical or sexual violence. The 24-hour professional staff will ensure that any program that arises will be handled professionally and will not hurt the neighborhood. As someone passionate about addressing homelessness, I firmly believe this project will have a positive impact on our community, and your support is crucial in making this a reality. As a professional who lives and works in Waukegan, I ask you to support this effort to house and provide services through this initiative. Yours is vital and will make a significant contribution to the lives of our most vulnerable neighbors and friends. Sincerely, Loretta Christian Pabel, Stabenhouse Director. Okay, is there, now, what we're going to do here, because there's a large amount of people here, we're going to put a limitation of 3 minutes to speak your piece. It's either for it or against it, for the motion, for the motions that are on the floor. So if there's a group of you that are all together and you'd like to pick a spokesman, that is one way we could do it. Or if you all want to come up, that's fine too. I do have to swear you in, so I would say, why don't we form a line from the podium going around, and we'll swear you all in at the same time.
I thought I had to be sworn in.
You are. Okay. Would everybody please raise their right hand?
I believe it will just be him starting off, and then we will be the group. Would you like us to do it collectively?
Collectively, yes. I'll do it all one time.
Anybody who wishes to speak and provide testimony on this matter needs to stand up now and be sworn in.
Okay. Could you please state your name?
Alan Blair.
Gracia Ramirez.
Francisco Ramirez.
Guadalupe Ramirez. Demetrius Maxon.
Maria Alvarez.
Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. We'll just go in line there. Just please state whether you support or you don't support, and then just have, once you're all sworn in, once you start speaking, we'll put the 3-minute timer on.
Okay.
Also, when you approach the mic, please provide your name and address again.
What was that again?
Okay, well, what I want you to do, sir, is just state your name and your position, and then also, there's a roster on the table there. Maybe we can move that over to the side, and we could get people to sign in as you go there. But we need everybody's signature and whatever the form asks for as far as that for the logistics of the report.
Okay, my name is Alan Blair. I'm against it for now. I always open a discussion. What has been presented so far is...
Sir, for the record, can you please provide your address? This is testimony, so you have to provide your address.
Oh, I thought he just said name and whether you're for it or against it. You know, which directions now?
We need your name, your position, and your address.
Okay. Alan Blair, against it, 405 Washington Street. Is that? Okay. The presentation, as usual in these large groups, is kind of vague. I don't know what these people, these boys mainly, the previous position had been women, which is not as volatile as young men. 14 to 17, they presented good cases for women getting jobs. I thought there was a limit on when you could get a job as far as child labor laws. I don't know what these gentlemen are going to be doing during the day. Are they roaming free? It hasn't been presented as if there's a daily schedule. This is what they're going to be. Are they going to be roaming around the neighborhood? The primary thing that I'm most concerned, because I did a little research about the mission statement, and it's very good and noble. It's a private not-for-profit, and it's primarily interested in treating advocacy for families, children, and youth with serious emotional, mental, and behavioral health issues. So that is one of my major concerns. There's a lot of locations. You've already got one here in Waukegan. There's a lot of counseling and mental health. There's counseling and mental health in Gurnee. There's a psychologist. It's been presented as this was just for, and it was temporary, just for homeless people. But I hear the nature of this gives me some concern, because some of the services they provide, anger management, which is a big issue for that group, annual mental health checkups, Bradley Counseling Center, anxiety, there already is a direct connection, not between being homeless and violence and increase in crimes, but there is a direct connection between drugs and they're all interconnected. And this is one of the things, violence, drugs, and homelessness are kind of interconnected. And I'm concerned with that vagueness of connection. I don't hear anything from these renowned people about what is going to happen during their daily activity. Are they going to be in the house? Are they going to be out roaming the streets? They can't get jobs because they're underage. And then, you know, what about the community? We've already been experiencing mental problems with people that they let into the building, and it cost my building tons of money to just get rid of mental issues. And I'm very concerned because our parking lot is way far from the building and women that go through that.
Thank you for your testimony. Commissioners, are there any questions for this witness? I think what we'll do is let them take because of the amount of people at the time, just go ahead and let everybody witness and say their piece, and then we will basically go to the applicants and let them remember. So applicants, if you could remember the questions and sort of hit the points on it. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Again, ma'am, could you state your name, your position, and your address?
Hi, my name is Grecia Ramirez. I reject the proposition. My address is 415 West Water Street. I am representing these individuals here up until the individual with the glasses. I am also representing 77 other individuals which were not informed of this situation. We received notice 2 weeks ago about the proposition. I went around in my neighborhood and inquired as to whether or not people that reside in this neighborhood were informed of the change, none of which have been informed. So I took it upon myself and I created a petition online and I had these individuals sign and I inquired as to what were some of the concerns. This is what they stated. First and foremost, it is in a residential area. Second, it will increase transit activity due to the fact that these are individuals that will be housed for approximately 30 days. Third, there's concerns of property taxes and lowering. Fourth, security measures. Specifically in my home, there is nothing that divides the properties. We share a driveway, oftentimes consisting of these youth trespassing and using our home to engage in leisure activities such as playing basketball, sometimes damaging our cars. There's also concerns about the work conditions. So Allendale has public records that in the past 3 years, police has responded to their Lake Villa location about 576 occasions. That means 2 times a month. There is no public record for the Walter Cherry location. However, due to the fact that I have lived there for 30 years, I can give you an estimate that there was a period in time in which the police was called approximately once a month, and their response time was 30 minutes. I myself have called on various occasions, and again, police officers, due to the amount of times that get called, they take approximately 30 minutes to respond. In 2017, the Walter Cherry, the residence here, was burned down, or there was a fire, and again, police officers took an extensive amount of time to respond. Allendale here states that they have individuals that are trained. I am a licensed professional counselor. I was also one time a correction officer, so I am very well immersed in this diversity. I have worked with them, I work with them. I am passionate about this cause, but once again, this is in a residential area and the concerns consist that they are not properly training their staff. They do not have staff that are properly licensed.
Staff, could you answer a question as far as the, I think her motion when she first said something about the notice and everything like that? I think we followed everything with that, right? Or you can-
Yes, so per state law and per our city ordinance, we put notices in the Spanish language and English language newspapers. And we also do notice to every property within 250 feet of this residence, kind of extending past the street as well. So the street doesn't count towards that 250, we extend past it. So everyone within 250 feet received a certified notice letter. Some folks don't sign for that letter, so they end up not receiving it. So that's the biggest challenge if someone decides not to sign for it when the mailman comes with this letter. That is potential, but residences within 250 feet are notified. That is per state law.
Thank you.
And there was also a sign on the property, thank you. There was a posted notice on the property stating what the application was for and when the hearing date was as well. Thank you. These notices are also sent to the taxpayer, not the residence itself. So if there's a house across the street, for example, that is owned by someone in Florida, it's going to be sent to that Florida taxpayer address. That is, again, a state requirement.
Thank you. Any commissioners have a question for that?
Ma'am, can I ask you a question, please? You referred to the fact that you're representing this group of people that's standing behind you, and you stated 77 other individuals,
Correct.
and you stated you had a petition that you had them sign.
Correct.
Did you submit that petition to the commission in any way?
So we received notice of this approximately 2 weeks ago due to the short amount of time. I have not submitted the petition to the commission. However, it is still live online.
Okay. That's it for, also, you referred to something burning down, and I didn't understand what you were stating.
So in 2017, there was an incident where one of the residents set fire to the residency, and the police department was called. And there was an extensive late response. Again, due to the fact that we live next door, it affected our residency as well.
What was burned down?
It was, do I have to sworn in or can I?
You were sworn in.
So again, we share a driveway, so. Just your name, please.
You need to state your name, your address. and if you-
Francisco Ramirez, I'm opposed, and I live at 415 West Water Street.
Okay, go ahead.
Distance that we share with the Ellendale location, with Walter Cherry House, is car distance-wise, which is our driveway. One of the back buildings, because I was there, I was playing in the back because I was younger. The back room, which is now a security room for them now, started catching on fire. I told my mom to call the fire department, so 911. And again, they prolonged, it took them about like 30 minutes. The flames started shooting out towards the house. We did receive a little bit of damage towards the house, but again, it burned down because of the cause of the guy who, again, was there. I guess he was smoking or something like that, and I'm just speaking on that behalf.
So the building that actually burned was part of the Allendale property,
Yes,
is what
it
you're
was.
saying?
It is that for.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand. Thank you.
Okay, would the next person like to come up and please state your name and your address and your position?
My name is Demetrius. I agree, and I live at 448 North Genesee Street. And crap, the reason the house should be open, well, first I came from Allendale when I was 17. So I came to Allendale around the time that I would probably say I got kicked out, and of course, they sent me to the police station. Out of all places that's around Waukegan, Allendale was like the only one to accept me. And I would say Allendale is probably a good place for boys and girls because the support they care about you. So a lot of people who get kicked out by either their own family members or people that they live with. And when you come to Allendale, they basically help you with everything that your biological family wouldn't help with. So things in school that your parents wouldn't help with, they would. And even with jobs, like, yeah, I heard that, like, younger people can't get jobs. I was only 17 when I came. I got a job at the Navy base working for them. And also, there's plenty of jobs out here for younger people. It's just up to the people who want to help them. So Allendale is somewhere that a lot of kids who are homeless should want to be versus out in the streets. And I heard earlier about why Waukegan. Waukegan has homeless people every single day. And I'm pretty sure people don't want to see their own kids out there on the street struggling to eat with a blanket. Where's their next meal? Who's going to say happy birthday? What holiday they're going to see? Because who actually want to see that? And people should agree to have this because this is somewhere that you know that kids will be like safe versus either out here in the gang or dead or hey, right in that building right there, locked up, looking at you outside the window, asking what I'm gonna do with my life. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I just hope that they could find something they want to do with it. And I'm from Water Street. Sometimes people need changes, and good changes are coming. And that's what the STAR program want to do.
Thank you for your testimony. Any commissioners, do they have a question?
Thank you for testifying. I would like to ask you, how old are you now?
I'm 18 now.
And you were 17 when you came to Allendale?
Yes, ma'am.
And how long did you stay at Allendale?
I stayed the whole 120 days there. The whole time I was there was the whole time that I was getting help, getting my birth certificate, Social Security, and everything else that I needed.
Okay, and which facility did you stay at?
I was in Lake Villa.
Okay, and let me ask you, as far as your daily schedule, were you occupied during the course of the day with activities that were required by the facility when you were staying there?
With our daily schedules, everybody would either be in school or everybody would either be out trying to find a job, and that's what they will help you with. The time that you will be outside of the house will be a time that you either find somewhere that you will want to work, which they will help you with at home and outside, and they also help you with schooling, just in case you either want to continue high school or get a GED or decide to go to college.
And so most of your time during the day was either immediately supervised or indirectly supervised in terms of how you were spending your time, for the most part? Did you have free time?
I would say so, yes, mainly after, well, you always have free time, but they will really help you with like the main things that are important, like getting a job, education, and usually the times that we wouldn't be doing it would be times that you would do activities like go to the gym, go to the library, go out with your friends, and then come back and everything's completely fine.
And how did you find, in terms of, you know, people have expressed a concern about anger, and I know that, you know, just being young in general makes people angry. But, you know, when you have other issues besides that, some young people do have anger issues. Did you find any kind of fights breaking out? Did you find uncontrolled activity in that respect in the facility where you were staying?
I mean, a lot would be just things with yourself that you would want because at the time you got a lot of things going on. So you don't officially know exactly what's going to be the next move in your life. So while you're there, they tried their best to slowly ease you into certain things that might be difficult for you to do on your own.
I really thank you for speaking up and having the courage to come up in front and stand in front of these people and tell us your story, because it's very important to hear directly from people who have experienced being in an Allendale facility. So I really thank you for coming up and speaking.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
Please state your name and your address and your support or not support.
Sure. Loretta Pable, 434 Hickory Street, Waukegan, Illinois, and I am in favor of this proposal. I live, obviously, about a mile of the facility, and I also work in homeless services, and I can tell you that there is just not enough places. And among the phone calls that I got, and I got one just a couple days ago, are the calls from the school social workers who have someone with no place to live, and they have no place to put them. And while I understand it sounds like a scary population, boys aged 14 to 17, I can tell you that they are far better off in a structured program with professional oversight than they are in whatever little patch of green behind Grand Avenue or behind the dumpster, or perhaps trying to live behind your garage. There is a cost to doing nothing here. I realize that it feels sometimes like everything's being put in Waukegan social service-wise, and as somebody who's been a homeowner here for 31 years, I am sensitive to your concerns. But I can tell you that there is this cost of doing nothing, that we are a large urban area and we have a very significant homeless population. And this is not like a drop-in center where people are coming for a meal or a shower. This is a structured program, and I'm hoping that the folks at Allendale will talk more about their intake process in terms of whom will and will not be eligible to stay in this facility, and how they will structure and supervise this program, because I think those are things that the neighborhood needs to know and the neighborhood needs to hear. I will also like to add that of the difficulties that we've encountered in our time as homeowners in Waukegan, the difficulties have never risen from an Oxford house or a transitional living facility or a harbor house. They've always been from people who are crummy landlords, people who are, poor renters. I mean, those to me are a much more significant threat to the quality of life in our neighborhood than a place that shelters homeless youth. That's in a structured professional environment. And I'd also say that unlike a private landlord, you all have recourse to Allendale and to their board of directors if things don't go well. So thank you for your time.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Guadalupe Ramirez, and I live in 415 West Water Street. I'm sorry for my English, not very well, but I live in there for 30 years, and I respect the program and everything, but I live in there for 30 years, and I receive whatever the reality the children did it, and I see too many different problems. I know can tell in 2 minutes, but I know feeling healthy in there. When this new program, I try to put it. I know protest before, and I not say anything because I respect and I understand everybody need help. But the program I try to talking about right now is a little different. It's drugs, it's alcohol, and it's too many problems. And I see before, and I do the report for the police because the children put drugs in the streets, in my streets, and I go to do the reports to the police. And I see the children in there, like smoking and everything. My question is, see you see the first picture, like the lady put it first, you can see my house is no division, anything, nothing like protect my house. I'm not feeling completely healthy in there because in reality the police take longer and frequently the group called the police and I feeling like, Okay, and this is before it's supposed to be more normal children's or more healthy children's, and this one is not the same. And this is the reason I come in and I disagree, because, okay, protect some people, pero, and put another one like, okay, you know healthy and you know nothing. This is my point. It's have a couple problems with my dogs because the children give food to my dogs. It's something very minimal, but it's only consideration like a little something simple for, because it's only a small people in the area. It's a couple, one block is like park for the children's. And 100%, too many men going drinking and do smoking and everything in there. And it's not healthy for the children. And it's in one school and very together too. You not think so anything about like this program or like these children's too? This is my consideration, and only myself. It's about like something, whatever is in there. And my property go down completely when this program. And I'm working for 30 years for like maybe me retire and I can something like living. And right now, no, because it's not very good in there. I like everybody put in my shoes and see what you do and see you as a one program like that. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions?
I just have a general question for the Ramirez family. Has anybody in the family over the 30 years that you've lived there spoken to people at Allendale? Have you met with them and talked to them?
Yes, we have. Yes.
Okay, so when you get up there, if you would address that, I'd appreciate that.
Again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Opposed 415 West Water Street. Yes, we have. We had direct contact to the supervisor of the building. I still have his phone number. When they were there before they vacant back in 2024, of the summer of 2024, before that, we would mention that we would see the kids, again, how my mom was trying to explain to you guys, they will leave, for example, items, which we didn't know what they were, right, in our pine trees that we had in front of our house. Again, we had to set up cameras for that same reason, because we see these sort of activities. Again, we never caught anything, yes, right? But because we communicated it to the supervisor, it wasn't always addressed. The sheer fact, again, I was attending college and I decided to turn into a commuter because I didn't want to leave my sister and my mom alone, right, with these individuals. So I would commute every day back to school and then back home because, again, I wanted to make sure everything was fine. Again, the big address of, yes, police not showing up within those 30 minutes, side part, we have communicated, again, with supervisors. We have told them, hey, your kids are doing this, your staff isn't doing that. Sometimes the supervisor wasn't there, or sometimes he was during the day when the kids, yes, were out at school or whatnot, but during those leisure times, because we share the same driveway, but we own the majority of the backyard, we would let them play. We would let them play basketball, but they would go towards the ravine, and I would, be outside with my dogs. They're friendly, but they would smoke or they would do things, and we would mention it to the supervisors, and we're like, hey, your kids are doing something like they shouldn't be doing, and nothing was ever addressed, especially at night. Again, we never really considered the fact of making it such a big deal because they would always tell us, hey, yes, we're going to guarantee it, we're going to guarantee it. Another sheer fact is just the staffing itself just wasn't just prepared. It just didn't seem like they were prepared. I understand that we're going to have kids in different needs, right? And maybe during that time there was kids that maybe had mental disorders, but I do remember because I would be outside all the time. I don't remember exactly his name, but they would leave him outside during the winter time, and I would ask him like, hey, is this okay for him to be outside? Weather was well below 30, almost 25, and I'm like, hey, is he okay? This kid, I still remember, I would sometimes try to talk to him, and again, he had a mental disorder, so it was kind of hard to get through to him, but he, would tell me like, no, I don't want to go inside, but the sheer fact that, if they're fully trained, they need to understand that a kid doesn't have to go through a process like that just because, they don't want something else to erupt inside the home, and I get that, but there's a lot of mixed emotions going into this. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions? Next testimony, sir.
I do apologize. I do have a question. Can you explain the quality of living for you and your family since Allendale stopped services in 2024?
I can definitely tell you that we have felt a lot safer. We don't have to worry about cops being called. When I grew up, it was something normal. Can you imagine, like a child, oh, the cops are here, Dad. Why? Because they're coming to take a kid who's been breaking the windows, who's been doing something. Me being a male individual, I couldn't sometimes play outside when they're outside because of the fact that I was worried that, yes, they say that they're not gonna bring in kids or guys, right, that are gonna be gang related, but how can you control that? I visually saw it because I was outside most of the time as well, where they have access to their phones and they will be able to talk and communicate to their girlfriends, to friends. They were cussing, saying, obscure things. And there was times where these kids that were supervised, right, would, again, have enough free time, leisure time, and they would be able to walk out. And sometimes I saw it. Somebody rode up to them, shouting obscure things out the car, saying, I can beat you up, blah, 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 let's catch a fade, blah, 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 things like that. What do? I go back to my house. I feel safe in my house, but at the same time, I don't feel safe walking outside, right? I can't walk my dogs. Sometimes it limited me from even enjoying my own backyard, right? So in general, we just never felt safe when they were there. Again, now that they vacant the house, we've been able to throw more parties. We've been able to invite more people over. I understand that some people don't understand, like, yes, we live right next to the jail, and they kind of get a little bit surprised. But when those kids were there, sometimes, again, they would feel unsafe as well because of the sheer fact that the things that they would say, comments, and I understand that that's not something that you can control, right? But that's where supervisors or the staff has to come in, right, and, take care of that certain situation. There was times, again, where they would, say things to my sister, and what am I gonna do? Just defend myself with words. That's the only thing I can do. I'm not gonna fight them. Again, when I was a minor, especially, I knew I couldn't beat them up. Right? Obviously, when I was past the age of 18, I knew that the right thing wasn't to address someone and, discuss with them. It's to go higher up and talk to them, but nothing was ever addressed. So yes, when they've been vacant, when they left the property, we felt a lot safer. I can let you know that it's almost about to be a year. There was one situation where we did have to call the police, just one. And it was because of a homeless person. It was a homeless woman, right? It was we have video footage of it. She was high off something. She started knocking on the door, on the window. Hey, I'm here to help, blah, blah, blah. I called the police station. They took within 30 minutes, right, because I had to keep calling them. But that's been the one time. It's been the one-time occasion that we've, felt threatened. Because, again, she was knocking on our doors. And I wish I could visualize and show you guys exactly how close we are to each other because we don't share any lines.
I completely understand the proximity. You guys are right. You share a driveway.
Yes.
So I'm very aware, and I appreciate you sharing the experience, and just that gives me added context. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Francisco Ramirez Sr., and I live on 415 West Water Street. I do have a lot of concerns. It's 30 years I've been living in this house. I've been seeing it all, a lot. See, I have one concern. Do they gonna bring some qualified steps? Also, when they place the garbage, I have to clean up after them because they throw garbage on the garbage containers. There is a lot of raccoons. All the garbage, when the wind blows, they blow to my yard. Also, do they gonna have a playground? Right now, there is a pole with a basketball thing where the kids play. Every time they come outside, there is no supervise. The ball all the time goes to my property in the parking lot or in my yard. Those kids don't have no respect at all. They do not I mean, when they are outside, you know, they have to be supervised by someone. And there hasn't been no such thing since 30 years. From day one, from 30 years up to less kids that were there in the house, it might happen a lot of things. Kids walk in my parking lot. I have my dogs outside. Sometimes they tease them, and I said, "Don't tease them, because if they bite you, see." I told the steps, and they didn't do nothing. Now they're gonna have 1 or 2 steps at daytime, 1 at nighttime. That is not enough, because those kids had a problem. One time, one kid started a lot of problems. I mean, he started going crazy, and one person couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle it. Now, you call the police takes about 30 minutes to get there. What safe do I have for my family? Also, there's another thing. Now, they take care of the yard. They do not have, or they do have a parking lot inside. When the steps or the cleaning lady that comes to clean the house, they park in my parking lot.
Time's up.
They should have a little bit of respect.
Commissioners, are there any questions for the witness?
I have a question for staff. When I look at the map that was provided, it looks like 2 buildings are proposed to move from, or they're currently in B4. So is only one of those buildings going to be in HC? And when we do something like that, what does that do to the value of the property of the building that's still in B4? I think B4 is downtown district, right? And it's business residential?
More geared towards just downtown commercial, residential as well.
Right.
But kind of,
Okay.
this is kind of the outskirts of it.
So if we move one of those, and I see that there's we have an HC still in that block, so I understand that. But now these are 2 residential looking, feeling facilities. So what's the impact? Can you give me an idea of what the impact might be?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give too much of an idea of what that, like, financial impact in terms of property values, in terms of something being HC versus B4 like it has been previously. I would say it's really the use that is impactful in terms of the zoning. Obviously, same character. They're not tearing it down to build an office complex, for example. So that would impact property values more than it staying as this kind of single-family appearance house.
Thanks.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, quick follow-up as long as we're on the topic. A year ago with when it had the other use, for Allendale, did it have the same zoning as it has now? That on the screen, or I'm trying to figure out what's the need for the amendment other than the services have changed.
Yes, I'd have to look back in our map to kind of see for sure. But from my recollection, it was always zoned downtown commercial, at least within recent years. With the Unified Development Ordinance coming in, it was stayed as downtown. It's just that it went from, its old downtown classification to the UDO's downtown classification.
Okay, so the UDO is impacting. All right,
Yes,
But then-
it was downtown. UDO kept it as downtown.
And so then back to the question of Commissioner Young, the reason that it has to be changed from B4 to this HC is because of the fact that it's temporary in nature, the housing that they're providing?
Correct. So the challenge with this one is this use came in the late 80s and has been licensed since then. So if they had continued with the previous use and it still had that lapse of a year, they would still need to reapply for a conditional use permit. So the challenge is that it's not allowed in the downtown district either, but because it was allowed previously in the 1980s prior to this ordinance coming into play, again, if with that lapse, they would have had to reapply anyway. It just would have been called something differently. But again, that homeless shelter classification triggers the map amendment. They would have had to also map amend for the community residents. It would just have been to a different classification as opposed to HC.
Thanks.
I have a question. With the change to HC, does that change like the parameters of how it's run? So are there like quality checks that would come into play with changing to an HC?
Not with the zoning itself. So the zoning itself, it really just changes your use standards and what we call like bulk and setback standards. So when you guys look through the Unified Development Ordinance, there's different standards for every different zoning classification. So HC has slightly different uses, slightly different parameters than the B4 district or the residential districts, things like that. So that's really the biggest thing that impacts it, is that use standard change. Is you can do different things in different districts. In terms of checks and things like that, that's something that we can impose through the conditional use permit. So since this is coming to you as a conditional use permit, we are imposing certain conditions on it. So the ones that staff has set forward in that staff report are our recommendations. We can go beyond that and we can add additional ones. You can remove some of the ones that are in there. You can, we can collaborate with our police department, for example, to come up with some additional conditions that makes this a little, more conducive to the neighborhood, for example.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Vanessa Ramirez. I live in 1414 Beverly Drive, Round Lake Beach. On behalf of my siblings, I'm here, and I'm against it. So there's a few things I'd like to point out. So the current HC is a parking lot for police, so it doesn't have like major impact right now. One of the things that they mentioned earlier was that that this new program is going to be a 30-day program. So while I understand that they have some great benefits, but as anybody knows, 30 days is not enough time for a child to have a healthy, stable home. So anybody who has kids, also, it's one of the statistics that they mentioned. They said that they had 44 people, total residents, but they only provided 4 success stories. So that's less than 10% of a success story in their facilities. The next things I would like to talk about is my youth growing up there. The biggest one, we were not allowed to play outside, but that is due to, well, at one point I was allowed to play outside with them. But at one point I started getting harassed. And then once my little sister was born, when she got older, we couldn't even play even on our own side, a little patch of the yard that's directly in our area where they could barely see us without them coming over and having little issues, harassments. So that was a really, unfortunate thing, especially being sexually harassed at such a young age, especially being 10 or 11, having these 16-year-old boys saying things to you that you don't understand. There is also a park that is right there, and there is a school nearby, and we are divided, the building is divided by a little wooden area that's right there. So even while I was younger trying to go to the park to play with my sister, the boys would see that, they would follow, I always had to make sure we had parental supervision. Even once I was of a 15, 16 years of age, it still wasn't safe for me. Also, before the parking lot on the left-hand side to our home, there used to be a funeral home, or a funeral service, the building that was there before. And so either way, the boys would play on both sides of the property, so nowhere was it ever a safe place for me to even enter or exit my home, to even go to the car to grab something such as groceries or even to grab the mail. So also like for the new youths that are in the area, the other few things that I would like to say is that no friends were even allowed to come over, and that is something that now my siblings and our future children will be able to have without these individuals next door.
Commissioners, any questions? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Are there any other audience participants that would like to give testimony, either for support or non-support? Okay, at this time, why don't we let Allendale, the applicants, basically make their responses to the testimony you've heard.
Do you need my name again? Okay, yeah. So just to talk a little bit about our program structure, I just want to emphasize that two things, that there will be 24-hour supervision, 2 staff on site during our first and second shift, and then 1 for our overnight shift. The structure of the program is going to vary to some degree, but there will always be a structure. So youth are not going to be allowed to essentially roam around unsupervised, as previously stated. The idea will be that we would be connecting them to services within the community, but then also working with them during the time that they are in the unit itself. So that would maybe look like a youth is going to school. If they're not already enrolled in school, because of the short term for some of the youth, the 30-day contract youth, they may be doing online schooling, and so that would be in the unit. Our kids that would stay with us a little bit longer, so with that 120-day contract, typically those kids are going to already be receiving school services through the McKinney-Vento Fund. So transportation would be provided to them, to our unit, and then, get bused back and forth. Some of our youth, like the program participant had mentioned, they do work. So if they're working, they're out in the community. But again, so creating that structure for them is going to look a little bit different just depending on the kids that we have in the house. It could be that we're doing daily life skills, so cooking classes, learning how to do hygiene, learning how to do laundry, because they're teenagers, right? Like they might not know how to use a laundry machine or even know how to take a shower. So doing those things that to you and I might be like, just regular day-to-day activities, things that maybe they don't know how to do because they didn't get a chance to do that at home. So again, just having that very structured time is going to be an emphasis. And, it could look like they're going to the gym with our staff. We are never dropping off the youth and just allowing them to go to the gym. We would be doing that with them. And as far as within the unit, they would also be provided comprehensive case management. So we would be connecting them to services, making sure that beyond just their day-to-day with the staff, they are connecting with the case manager. And then also I would be on site as the program manager, making sure that any issues that are relayed potentially, hopefully there wouldn't be, but if there was any neighbor issues, those are directed to the appropriate people. We are making sure that they are not dismissed, and making sure that they're not going into that property. That would be that structure.
I have a question. As part of the house rules, is there a curfew established at night?
Absolutely. So all of our units do have a curfew for our youth. It is 10 p.m. In the morning, they are able to leave earlier if they are going to school. Obviously, school time is going to be different. But from 10 p.m. until about 5 a.m., the expectation is that they are going to be in their room asleep. And then they would wake up, get ready for school or their day, and weekends, which would be Fridays and Saturdays, would be 11.
I would imagine since you've been doing this for such a long time, the Allendale Association, there's probably lessons learned, comments like this from the local residents, that would probably ring a bell, and maybe you establish some different rules and stuff like that. Yeah, was there any other questions that you think were addressed by the testimony out there, or any of you? That,
Before she walks away, I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So the there's been a program there for over 30 years. The Ramirez family has experienced issues for 30 years. Is the level of supervision that's going to be in this particular new configuration any different than the level of supervision that's been there for 30 years?
Yes, can you talk to the?
That program's before me, so I just
Okay.
want to make sure we give you the right answer.
Yes, to answer that specific question, when we have kids under 18, we are required by state law to have 2 adults for every 6 kids. So certainly our program, the STAR program, is different than the Qualified Residential Treatment Program that the group home was part of. And because those youth were typically kids that were 16, 17, 18, maybe even 19, they had different parameters in place, especially once they were over 18, different opportunities for them to be community-based youth as they're getting ready for independence through DCFS. But by law, we have to have at least 2 staff. And during the day, as Maribel mentioned, the case management staff would be there, program manager also on site to assist the youth support specialists, our direct care staff.
And are any of the Allendale representatives that are here today aware of the ongoing issue that the neighbor has had over the last 30 years?
I believe that some of our staff have transitioned out of the residential services program and joined our STAR team, and are aware that, you know, there were times where our clients unfortunately were disrespectful, but our staff take very seriously the responsibility of supervising youth. Our staff are trained in trauma-informed care, countless trainings that they go through for that, for de-escalation, for any crisis management types of situations as well. Our facilities team has been kind of our liaison as far as property management and relationships with regard to the neighborhood. So certainly we can address the trash concerns that we all would share. That trash concern, lighting, things like that, just general property maintenance to ensure that our property has nice curb appeal to keep the neighborhood clean and safe as well. We would all welcome that partnership. I do have other questions I wanted to be able to address, or answers to the questions that they had. Okay. We wanted to discuss our partnership with the Waukegan City Police. Certainly we have had a different type of program within 421 Water Street. Our STAR program partners with the neighborhood police officers available. They've come to our 448 Genesee program. They've worked with our staff regarding just general community needs that our neighborhood has and that our clients have. I mean, certainly we're working at Genesee. They're 18 and they're young adults, so we're talking about additional concerns with sexual trafficking and dating violence and all of those unfortunate situations that young adults have to encounter these days. But we do have that ongoing partnership, and we believe that they will continue to support our program at 421 Water Street as well. The numbers of in Ms. Ramirez's statement regarding our concerns at the Lake Villa campus, we do, as an organization, we're licensed through the Department of Children and Family Services, and we're caring for the kids in their custody. So it is our obligation, if we have a youth in DCFS care that runs away or is having an emotional crisis and might need a hospital stay, we are obligated by DCFS to contact the police. Those police contact numbers then count towards the response that a community, that the police have to a certain address. So I can tell you for the program at 421 Water Street, because those were youth in the care of the DCFS, we also had that same responsibility. If we had a youth that might have run away or left the program without permission, it is our obligation to contact the police. The police then must come over and take a report for a missing persons report per law. And so that also counts as a police contact number. So I can tell you we went back through data from until 2019. We had in 6 years, 69 calls to the police. If you take away the calls that were not related to youth running away, there were only 29, so an average of 4.8 per year versus 11.5 per year if we include the runaway reporting that we are obligated to do. And it's certainly our staff want to ensure that our kids are safe and respectful. The STAR program has community groups. They'll talk ad nauseum to the youth about their respect for each other within the home environment as well as the neighbors, because that's what we are. We can't be able to serve them if they are not good neighbors in our Waukegan community. As far as data, we wanted to simplify the data, but certainly we have lots of positive outcomes. 100% of our kids complete required risk assessments through our funding sources. They have comprehensive plans for their services. They've demonstrated progress on all of their service plans, including their life skills. 100% of eligible benefits successfully, or youth eligible for community benefits successfully acquire those benefits and therefore now have access to food. They have their driver's license. If they're for women, if they're pregnant or parenting, they have now access to WIC. We have kids that if they have an additional safety plan required, maybe they have a no contact order with a biological parent, we make sure that we have an additional safety plan in place for those youth so that they are safe from anybody who's not safe to them. We've had 92% of our program participants employed and or enrolled in school when they left our program. We put on the slideshow for the 14 to 17-year-old range. We've had 9 kids in that program. 6 of those kids had return home goals. Only 1 of those youth did not return home. So that calculates to 83% achieved their return home goal. 1 of those youth, the adoptive parent did not have the capability to have that child back in her care, so he was placed elsewhere. I hope I answered your questions. I don't know.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
And so I just wanted to confirm, this is an expansion of your STAR program. The Lake Villa site will remain open?
The Lake Villa site would become kind of overflow for the 120-day stay program. This program will move to Waukegan ideally so that our staff are central here to Waukegan within the mile of the other program, or so they can support each other if necessary, but also then we can serve more youth. We didn't have the capacity in our Lake Villa program to take any more than 4 kids.
Any other questions, commissioners?
I did have a question about your staff. You keep saying that they are trained. Does this consist of just online trainings? Are there in-person trainings? Do they have certifications, degrees, or anything else to deal with these high-risk youths?
Great question.
Yeah, excellent question. My name is Dr. Eric Alexeyev. I am Chief Clinical Officer, address 600 West Grand Avenue, Lake Villa, Illinois. In regards of the training of our staff, currently we're utilizing ARC framework for skilling up our staff. ARC stands for basically, I'm sorry? Attachment, regulation, and also competency. So the program ARC framework is actually broken down for modules. Each module is going to be addressing specific area, such as an attachment, regulation, connection to the youth, and also connection to the families, like how parents are going to be responding to youth and how our staff might be responding, how staff will become aware that they're getting kind of maybe some feelings or getting angry about situation. They will be able to regulate themselves and then help to co-regulate with the youth. So that's one layer of the trainings. If we're going to be looking at Allendale as a whole, we have a bunch of different other trainings, from diversity to cultural awareness to understanding individuals with trauma, developmental stages. Also, we are actually focusing on training our staff to early recognition when they're getting like escalated. Obviously all of us will see when the child is escalated, right? Being angry, doing some, kicking, screaming, whatnot. So, but earlier stages, when you see might be a child kind of like pacing around or, I don't know, doing some sort of repetitive type of behavior. So our staff is trained to recognize those moments and actually interact with a child and co-regulate, so in early stages. We are also focused on training our staff understanding how to manage individuals who experienced complex trauma, right? ACEs, adverse childhood experiences. Majority of our clients in all programs have a very high score in ACEs, which means that their current behaviors is being significantly impacted. So as you see, all of those trainings across the spectrum will help our staff to actually be self-aware, and then through that awareness kind of co-regulate with our clients we are serving.
I have to follow up. Are they actually have any degrees or certifications, or is it just the online training modules that you were talking about?
Counselor, it's actually in vivo training. It's not online trainings. We have identify and certify trainers, and those trainers are actually facilitators of each of those modules or other training experiences with our staff. So it's a didactic part, and then there is actually a dialogue part where our moderators are able to answer questions, facilitate dialogues, look at the vignette, dissect different cases.
Commissioners, anything else? I'd like to take the opportunity at this time to just let you know that the purpose of this commission basically does not approve or disapprove. We make a recommendation to the Waukegan Community Development, and they make that in the council. And they'll take a look at it, and they'll hear the same information you've given us, and they make their decision on it. So ours is strictly a recommendation. We're not approving or disapproving at this meeting. With that being said, if there's no other questions, I think we can move into, I'm looking for a motion. We would take on Planning and Zoning 2789 first. That's for the map conversion.
I would just like to make a comment, ask a question, a general type of thing. I'm just wondering if there are ways to make the existence of this particular program, which Allendale is renowned for the programs that they do. So we have to give them credit for years and years of serving the community the way that they do, which is absolutely stellar. But we have to take into consideration, I think, the fact that there is a neighbor who's had issues for 30 years. So my thought is, are there conditions that can be put on any sort of a motion that would help regulate the issues that a neighbor seems to have? The neighbor has stayed there for 30 years despite what's been going on. And while we can't control every word that comes out of a child's mouth, whether it's our own child or a child that's under our supervision, it happens in schools, it happens on the street, it happens in the grocery store, but to live next door to it for 30 years, I'm just wondering if there's either suggestions that we as a commission or that Allendale or the Ramirez family can make that we might be willing to consider as additional conditions to any kind of motion that we would make right now. My first thought is, and I know this may not be realistic or possible, but can there be a fence put between the two properties so that there is some privacy for the neighbor and that there isn't the opportunity for rude comments and whatever was going on to make this family uncomfortable. So I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not saying that I want to, I'm not sure what the step in the process is here right now, with that thought in mind. If anyone else has any other comments.
Would it be, so earlier this week, I spoke with both Lake Villa Police as well as City of Waukegan Police. Would it be helpful if I shared a few comments from both of those experiences and some suggestions that they had that could potentially turn into
Absolutely.
conditions?
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Not everyone else's, but
Yeah, so with Lake Villa, obviously it's a large campus as opposed to a standalone property. So it operates very differently, but still some good lessons learned from them. One of the comments that I heard from their police department was having staff easily identifiable. Obviously a little larger of a concern on a large campus, but having marked polos or t-shirts or lanyards or something that quickly identifies when a police officer arrives who is a staff person, who is a resident or a juvenile. Another suggestion that came out of Lake Villa is that they actually meet with Allendale staff monthly, is what they had stated. So that's something that we could institute here through a condition, is that maybe for the first 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, they have to meet monthly, and then they move to quarterly, or maybe they stay monthly, or maybe it's every 6 months. That's something that they can meet with the police department, with their neighborhood police officer. Potentially neighbors could be invited to submit their concerns, and that could be addressed during those meetings. There's options with that. Another thing that I heard from Lake Villa was that they do have camera systems and security systems, so just making sure that those are in place here could be a condition as well. I will address the fence. They do have a shared driveway, so that makes it a little challenging to do a fence in between. We as staff can take a look at those properties to see if it makes sense that Allendale could potentially have a driveway on the other side of their house. We'd have to look at that. They are very close to the ravine, so we'll have to take a little bit of a look at that just to see what's possible. But they do, as of now, have a shared driveway. I believe that shared driveway is on the neighbor's property and not on Allendale's property specifically, or a larger portion on the neighbor's. And again, all these conditions, you can come up with others. You can discuss amongst yourselves. If it makes sense to talk more with the Waukegan Police Department, with Allendale as a team, that's something that you can direct staff to do potentially, is we can have a meeting and coordinate a meeting with different departments to kind of discuss some good options to make this, if this goes through, to be a good option for the neighborhood.
Staff, would you recommend that that would be a condition that would be brought up again in front of us again, or is it something we can add to it today as far as the police participation and stuff like that, or?
That could be something that you condition that you've got a couple options for you. Kind of the one that would be kind of most straightforward would be to push this into September, for example, to hold over to a date certain. And then during that period of time, staff can coordinate a meeting with Allendale, with police, with other city officials to coordinate a meeting and come up with some additional conditions to set forward. And then you would hear that in, for example, the September meeting as old business. Another option for you is, if you don't, that would be the way that you would see those conditions. If you want to make a recommendation, approval or denial now, and then staff still meet with them and set for some additional conditions that then we recommend to City Council, that could also be an option as well.
Commissioners, any questions of that?
Not a question, at least now. I'm not going to motion it because I do want us to have a discussion. But as it relates to any conversations involving the family that's lived next door to them for 30 years, along with making sure that if 77 people have signed the online petition, kind of making sure that the community feels comfortable with whatever plan is presented. Because homelessness is an issue, but I also feel for the family in the situation that they've dealt with.
Yeah, definitely. I passed on my card to the Ramirez family, so we can definitely coordinate a meeting with them as well. If you'll reach out, we can have a conversation.
I'd like to just make a statement, I think, in relationship to this conversation. For years, downtown has tried to bring residents to downtown. And not transitional residents, but residents who are going to live, raise families, drive commerce, be community members. And it has been a real struggle for the city of Waukegan. And here we have a home owner, 30 years, kind of lived with a situation that wasn't ideal. And we have an opportunity to look at whether this is an ideal space. I know it's a convenient space, and I'm not saying anything about the need for the service. I believe the service is absolutely needed in this community, in Waukegan. I don't know where, but I have some reservations about this location. And the fact that we now are looking at this because there was an interruption in use is an opportunity for us to take a look at it and say, is this what we really want here? And as someone who's been working with the downtown over the last, I guess, 35 years, I personally would rather see homes there than another social service. So I guess that's my statement. I'm not saying this isn't a real need, because it really is. And I know Commissioner Ewing used to be president of the school board. He probably knows better than I do how many homeless students we actually have in Waukegan. It is staggering. So this is not a comment on need or the service. It's, for me, it's the location.
I do want to direct your attention to the screen with the findings of fact for conditional uses. Again, this is what we are, what you as a commission base your decision off of. So these 7 findings of fact, does this application meet these? And again, if not, are there conditions that can be placed that allow it to meet, or is there not? So those are just some things to, that you use to evaluate this project.
So I think that's if somebody's bold enough to make a commission, because I'm with Ms. Anderson, if I have to act tonight, I would be in opposition based on the information I've been provided. So extending it allows additional time, but that also carries it over and takes more time. So I'm open to the rest of the commission, but I did want to state publicly, given the information that I would have, I would vote not to recommend.
Mr. Ewing, would you like to make a motion on that comment, or, I mean, we're looking for a motion right now. Yeah.
I'll make a motion. I'd like to, for zoning calendar 2789 map amendment from B4 to HC at 421 West Water Street, make a motion to continue the zoning calendar 2789 to the commission meeting in September so that additional information can be provided with the Planning and Zoning Commission staff, meeting with both Allendale, the police departments, a representative from the Ramirez family, and if any other of those 77 people are interested in participating, I don't want to zone your office out with, but maybe a couple of people who would represent that group, to determine if this was to be referred with an approval to the community development, what would make it more tolerable for the families that live in the area. And if there are conditions that they feel would make it okay, is that workable for Allendale? Is a fence possible? Is it possible to put the driveway on the other side? Along with perhaps Allendale looking at, are there alternative sites, as Teddy has suggested, and Commissioner Anderson and Ewing have brought up good points about whether this is really the right place for it. So it seems to me that there's a lot to consider here. That's my big, long, hairy
I was
motion.
gonna say long motion, but I'll second it. Second.
Just a one point of clarification. This is, I think the motion it was for 2789, but we would need a motion for 2789 and 2790. Is that correct? Do you want to do those?
You have to have 89 to do 90?
Correct.
Yeah, so if 89's continued, you can't do a 90.
Right,
So
so
then
I think the motion you'd have to make a motion to continue both of these items.
Okay, well, can I amend my statement to say I'd like to motion that we continue both of these items on the agenda? Or do they have to be made separately?
Technically, you need to vote on the amendment to your motion, and then you vote on the motion.
So I've made the motion for 2789. Let's vote on it, and then we can do a motion for
Motion for
2790.
20, okay, that works too.
All right. All in favor? A roll call, please.
Haug?
To continue, Mr. Commissioner Haug.
I'm going to abstain.
You don't understand?
I'm going to abstain.
Oh, you're gonna abstain,
yes.
okay.
I mean, I can't vote against it, right? Because if you want to continue it, there's nobody that wants to approve or disapprove it, right? You know, I just want to make a statement. I'm sorry I have to jump in here, but, you know, if not here, where? You know, I'm sorry to say this, but I think any location you're going to find neighbors that don't want to have it. You know, I'm sorry. I live next to a neighbor that they have a halfway house for recovering alcoholics. And I find beer cans in my front lawn because there are people that drink before they go to the house because they can't drink at the house, obviously. And I'm not happy about it, but there's a real need, you know? And it's really sorry to say for a community like ours where we can't find a place for these poor kids. You know, I felt like I was going to cry when that young man was up there explaining what he's gone through. He's got no support system whatsoever. And we're basically turning our backs on these kids. Continuance fine, but is it really going to change anything substantially? I guess I have to ask that question.
Well, that's, I think, that's what I'm hoping, that this conversation, that planning and zoning will coordinate for us, that we can find a happy medium.
No, and I agree with that. It's just, we spent an hour and a half here, and I'm just fearful that we're going to be here again in a month and listen to the same people with the same complaints that we had tonight. And that just infuriates me. It really does. You know, we're not moving forward on this issue. So, you know, let's continue it, but let's think hard and fast about what we're here to do. You know, and I think we have to represent everybody. And here we got people that have no place to go, and we're not representing them properly. And I understand, you know, there's neighbors that are not going to be 100% happy. But at the end of the day, we're not just representing the people that have houses. We're representing the people that have absolutely nothing, you know. So I've said my piece. I'll say, yeah, let's do the continuance, but I just hope we're not here in another month making this hard decision again.
Again, Commissioners, with the facts we've just heard back there, we do have a motion on the floor. We have to vote on that. So you could either approve that or deny that. And then basically, then we could go back and do what we're going to do again. Yeah, it's a difficult, heart-wrenching situation in the world, not only in Waukegan, it's around the world. And homelessness and especially youth is a very much concern of everybody's heart. And I'm sure even the participants that are the neighbors of this, they have children, and they realize if their children was having a situation, this is not homelessness as much as it is mental health. And I think that's a stigma that we put homelessness on it, and we look at everybody that's a street person and say, we group them together. Children have the best chance to get out of that. And I think that's what we really should be voting on tonight. So, again, we have a motion on the floor. Let's have a roll call.
Haynes?
Yes.
Young?
Yes.
Carlos?
Yes.
Ewing?
Yes.
Shepherd?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Bill?
No. So we will have our both both agenda items will have to be, we combined the two, right?
No, there wasn't combined. It was only for 20.
Just for the map revision?
Just for 2789.
I'd like to make a motion for zoning calendar 2790, conditional use permit for a homeless shelter at 421 West Water Street, to continue that calendar item to the September meeting, along with zoning calendar 2789 for the same reasons.
Just to clarify one more time, what date is the September meeting? September 11th at 7 p.m.
At 7 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Haug,
Abstain.
Haynes,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Bill,
No. The ayes have it. So we will see you on the next Planning and Zoning meeting in September. And I hope the city staff and the participants and the police can maybe come up with a rhyme or reason that might be a win-win.
Yes, just to clarify for the room, 2789 and 2790 will be going on September 11th, Thursday, September 11th at 7 p.m. in this room.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff. All right, moving on to our third item here, we have some UDO revisions, and I think Sam is going to speak to that.
Yeah. Do we want a 5-minute recess? Is everyone good to keep going? All right, let's keep going. I'll give people a minute to filter out if they're not staying.
Thank you all for coming, too.
Want to stay, you can, but your item's done, yeah. We'll be in touch. Well, good evening, Planning and Zoning Commissioners, and anyone else in the audience, if anyone's staying. Sam Green, planner for the Planning and Zoning Department, here today with some amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance. You may remember in January of 2024, it was unanimously approved by the City Council. In January of 2025, we made minor edits, and we're here today with the first round of really substantive edits. It's been in place for about a year. We've had a year to work with it in real time on the ground, see how things are working out, and this is really our first time addressing some of those things that need changing, and hopefully beginning a cycle of cyclical changes. We don't want this to be some stoic document. We want it to be constantly evolving and always being under review. Hopefully this can start that cycle. Just a refresher, because I know we've got some new faces, but it's also been a year. The Unified Development Ordinance combined our old zoning ordinance, our sign ordinance, subdivision ordinance, so making one lot into a bunch of smaller lots, our tree preservation and landscape ordinance, and our design guidelines from the 2005 master plan. Combined all of those into one document. So pretty much every zoning rule about how a building is built, how it looks, how it's used, is in this document. And I can talk ad nauseum about what's in there. For the year that it's been in, you might have noticed, because we have certainly noticed, that we've been getting some very positive feedback. People have found that it's easier to use. They like it just from a readability standpoint better. Their projects are easier to accomplish, so we're very happy with that. Because it's easier to use and because the regulations are simpler, things are going through faster and the approval processes are easier. And as a result of that, you might have seen the headline last week, we have a record high number of businesses operating in Waukegan right now. And I know that's not only because of this book, and there are so many departments that have put in a lot of hard work to get us there, but we certainly like to think that this is a part of that, and that making it easier to open a business in Waukegan has resulted in that higher number. Also, maybe you've noticed we've kind of had fewer things coming to you at Planning and Zoning Commission. You know, someone doesn't need to come in for a variance for one parking space because they know how many parking spaces they need. And things like fences don't need to go all the way to City Council. They just come to you for a final approval. So we're very happy with that. But I hope you've also noticed that we're really trying to maintain our community values. We want to uphold what makes Waukegan a good place to be in and a good place to operate your business. We hope that you found that's still the case. So as we've gone through these changes, I gave you that list last month. I know it's kind of like gobbledygook, so I'm going to try to give you a brief explanation of the major changes. I want to be thorough, but I don't want to waste your time. It's like 101,000 words in that book, so I'm going to go over highlights. But if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me at any time. If you want to go through specific sections, we can certainly do that. I also created these flyers that kind of give a very brief overview of what has changed. Hopefully that has helped bring that forward. But I'm going to go through some of the biggest changes, what I've seen. So the first one is we expanded some of the uses and the use permissions. So in the book, there's that use table that lists in every zoning district all the uses that are allowed there. We added some places here and there. Some cases we reclassified things. So in the original book, the animal hospitals were classified as like an animal shelter. So they were like, all worried about neighborhood protection and not being like a nuisance for residential areas, but an animal hospital isn't that way, so we pulled it out, make it more like a medical office. We allowed things like ball courts and greenhouses in more districts. We tried to start strict and then loosen up as we could, and we felt was safe. That's one of those things we feel we can start allowing that in more places, allow more people to have more things. We also created a use called fleet management facilities. So you think about like if somebody has a medical transport business and they have 4 vans that pick people up and drive them around. Currently that's classified as like a contractor yard, so like a landscaping business or like keeping their gravel things. It just doesn't really fit. So we created a new use to allow that use in Waukegan more explicitly and have that more catered to what those businesses actually are. A couple things about uses that I want to point out. If you're looking through the strikes, it might look like we got rid of outdoor storage. We moved it from principal uses to accessory uses. It's not really a principal use. It always has to be accessory to another use like a warehouse or manufacturing. So we didn't remove it from the uses, we just moved it. We also relocated the minimum lot sizes to the use table. We used to have it in Section 8, all about like bulk and setback. We had the minimum lot sizes for things like an agricultural use, for motor vehicle repair shops and auto dealerships. We still have those regulations. They're not new and they're not gone. We just moved them to the use table because that's where our customers are looking when they want to start that business. That's where they're going to see that information, not where it previously was. We changed a couple variance process changes, so how things come to this commission or to the city council or to the development review board, that board of department heads that looks at more minor things. For example, accessory structure setbacks and placements now all go to the development review board. So we've had a couple variances for like a shed that's going to be 3 feet from the lot line instead of 5 feet from the lot line. 2 feet is really a small variance, but when you go through our specific codes, technically it has to come to Planning and Zoning Commission, and sometimes it has to go all the way to City Council. We don't need the City Council to be reviewing a 2-foot setback for a shed. We feel comfortable sending that to the Development Review Board to make that decision. The other way around is sign variances. Right now, all sign variances go to the Development Review Board. We don't feel that that's a high enough standard of review. People really care about signs and in their neighborhoods, and as you saw, we had that appeal come to you. We feel it would be more appropriate if sign variances came to you in the first place instead of going to the Development Review Board and then bad decisions get appealed. We're just going to send them to you. We also created something called unspecified minor adjustments. So if there's something, a requirement where there's no real variance process laid out, and it's a very small thing like, I don't even know what, we always want a path for you to bring your project into compliance. So minor things can always go to the Development Review Board. Major things will go to the appropriate bodies. We also explicitly listed DRB appeals. It wasn't very clearly listed that an appeal from the DRB comes here to you. Now it's written, can't be argued. A couple things with parking. One of the most frequent comments we received from aldermen, community members, business owners was that the parking lot landscaping requirements were too strict. These requirements were originally from the 2005 Tree Preservation and Landscape Ordinance, but it was carried over into the UDO. We tried to work with people on keeping them in and had a different variance process, and ultimately what we're finding is it's still too strict. So we're exempting only existing parking lots. So if you have had a parking lot permitted by the city in 1980 or 2000, and you're replacing that parking lot exactly the way it was before, you can do that now. You don't have to go through a variance process to do that. You don't have to meet our requirements. So hopefully trying to make it easier for people who have been operating successfully and who have not had problems to do that a little easier. Brand new parking lots will still apply. If you're expanding your parking lot, putting an addition on that will still apply. Things like conditional uses will still apply. They will need to come up to those same codes as they have for the past 20 years. Another really small one, if you noticed it, public transportation hub. This is a state law that says we can't require a minimum number of spaces within a half a mile of like the metro station. So this is bringing it into compliance with that new law. We added a new section to this ordinance, section 4.12. Section 4 lists the processes for how everything goes through a variance or a conditional use. This lists the process for a revocation of a conditional use permit. Something we would like to never have to use, but if you look at your staff reports, you'll see something that says the Planning and Zoning Commission has the ability to review and bring them in for questioning for their conditional use and could even revoke their conditional use if they find that it's non-compliant. Problem is there's no listing on how a revocation would happen if that were ever to go through. So we listed out a process that's essentially the same as a CUP. They come to you, there's questioning, there's public comment, they get noticed. We don't ever want to have to use that because revoking a CUP means you're removing that person's ability to operate that business there. This would be something we use after they've been in court a bunch of times, after there's been a lot of non-compliance issues. We don't have any plans to use this, and hopefully we won't ever have to, but if down the road that issue arises, now we have a clean way of bringing it through, and it's going to be spelled out. Any questions so far? I've got a few more things for you, but okay, I'll keep going. There's some little changes we wanted to make too. This is one of those things, you use a book for a year and it's only after you're really using it with folks that you realize what needs to change. We had a resident call us up and he said, I live in the R2 district, I want to build a duplex, but the R2 district says the single unit residential district, and that was confusing. But of course, you're allowed by right to build a duplex in the single unit residential district. It was weird. So we renamed the R1 and R2 districts from single unit residential to limited residential. So you got R1 and R2 are limited residential, R3 and R4 general residential, and R5 is multi-unit residential. Little things like dog kennels, we had a maximum size of like 64 square feet, which is really small. So we're making it a little bit bigger to reflect normal sized dog kennels. Things like seeding for grass, you don't have to hydro seed, you can just put down grass seed. That's what our engineering department does. We want to make that allowed for everyone else. This one I found is pretty funny. We said that solar panels had to cover 75% of your roof, not 74, not 76%. So obviously we want to allow you to cover up to 75% of your roof. Some organization things. The section on planned unit developments was kind of mishmashed. It didn't read through how someone who wanted to build out a planned unit development would see it. So we reorganized it to be like what's allowed, what you can do, how it goes through the process, how it gets reviewed, how it gets amended. It just, in our opinion, makes a little bit more sense. Again, we relocated the use minimum lot sizes for auto dealerships and auto repair. Didn't remove them, just relocated them. We referenced the garage and driveway requirements in the residential design requirements. They weren't in there, so people weren't noticing them. Now they'll see that there are requirements for driveway width, for garage height, things like that. And we created or added on to 16 definitions, just to make it very clear what we mean when we say something in this book. And then the last thing I'll cover is changes from the last month. I gave you a big packet of red lines last month, and we did make a few changes in that time. So I want to make sure that I called those out specifically. Number one, we had a bit in there about allowing plan unit developments to go with a higher residential density than what's allowed in the use table. It was determined that that was spot zoning, so that one had to be taken out. We added to the section 603H talks about allowing uses on environmentally contaminated lots. We realized it was not doing the right thing, so we added definitions to say you still need to clean up your lot, but there's multiple ways you can do it. Shout out to Rachel for helping me with that one. That was really difficult. We said units, right now it's a unit above the ground floor as a use. We now allow units above or below the ground floor to allow like garden units or, you know, anything with underground that's allowed to, keeps your residential and commercial separate. We expanded ground floor residential plan unit development uses to B3. So in plan unit developments in B2, B4, and HC, you can apply to have ground floor residential as part of that. We're expanding that into B3 since that's been something, we've seen some projects that might want to use that. And then we also exempted community solar projects. So you think like Yeoman Creek or some solar projects are run through the Illinois Shines program that distributes solar energy to low-income households, guaranteed savings, really cool programs. We have language in this book that says you have to use solar panel energy on site, which is good for if you're a homeowner, you have to use your solar panels for your house. We are exempting community solar projects to allow those to work. These are really good programs, and that's something we want to encourage. That is all I have. If there is any questions on any of the changes in here or on things that aren't changing but you think should be changed, I'm happy to discuss that.
Sam, first of all, I've had the opportunity to use your new code, and it's fantastic. So really nice job, excellent. But working with one of my clients, Waukegan Park District, I know that, you know, when we did the sports thing out there and we discovered it was all residential, we had to change it to CR, and you recommended that all of their sites change to CR. You might want to look at your table. The way I read your table, CR does not allow permit or as a conditional use indoor recreational facilities. And I'm thinking of the Hingston Fieldhouse, and that's one big indoor recreational facility, and now it's a non-compliant use on a CR property. So you might want to look at that one. I think that was an oversight.
I think that is a good comment. I would welcome, I mean, if you want to amend the motion to approve or whatever the motion is to include that, I think that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
Sam, I have one question as far as when you mentioned the solar arrays limited to 75% of the roof area. I would change the language a little bit to say that those are solar arrays. That's a term. Solar roofs are the entire, like Tesla shingles. So that would be 100% of the roof, minus the setbacks. There are dummy panels that are in that. But basically, a solar roof is different from a solar array. So you could limit the solar arrays to 75%. But I think, you know, you're going to get in a conflict because somebody's going to say, I want a Tesla roof. That's 100%.
Yeah, and I agree with that because the technology is advancing, and pretty soon they'll be covering whole houses with solar arrays, and you won't even know it. So,
my guess, I'll give that a review. My guess is that these apply to like panels, where we're worried about like height and worried about hanging off the edge of the building, those kinds of things. I think if it looks like a shingle, we'll probably classify it as a regular old shingle and just use building codes to regulate it. But I will make sure, because that's something, again, we want to allow. Yeah, by the time this advances, I'll have some info on that. Yeah, that's a good, see, I mean, I appreciate the intel.
I saw a note about being in good standing.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is, or is there a definition of what good standing is somewhere? And I'm sorry, I can't give you the point because...
Oh, I know it.
Okay.
So that section is about accepting applications. So when somebody wants to come in for an application for a variance or for a conditional use, right now the zoning administrator can accept that application when everything's complete and it's signed and they've paid their fee. What this is saying is you need to be in good standing, and that means you can't have like an outstanding lien on your property. If you owe the city $15,000 for your water bill, we're not going to give you a conditional use for a banquet hall if you owe us $15,000 in that. Things like code compliance, if you have, God knows what. We don't want to give you some expansion to your use until you fix that. Of course, if it's going to fix that, like if you need a variance to get rid of your code compliance thing, that we can accept.
But is there a definition somewhere? I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, and I understand your goal.
Yeah, I'll check on that. I mean, as a city
I just
planner,
don't
I
know.
know what that is, but I don't know if that's clear enough to enforce, so I'll check on that.
Is it only financial? Does it include calls to a business for the police department? What does it include? Because it can be administered differently based on who that client is who's coming in. And I think I have heard that is an issue.
Yeah, I can look into it. I know that the city uses that term in other things, like we can't issue a liquor license to a business that's not in good standing, but that's very clearly defined because it's such a visible process. It happens so much. If we're good to go as is, then we'll keep it that way. If we need to add something, we can do that. Noelle, are you coming to comment on that, or?
Not on that one, on Commissioner House. No. There is verbiage, well, there's verbiage in the definition that clarifies that the Park District has authorities beyond others in the CR. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the definition of park, buckle up, is a non-commercial, not-for-profit facility designed to serve the recreation needs of the residents of the community. Parks include, but are not limited to, publicly accessible ball fields, football fields, soccer fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, dog parks, skate parks, playgrounds, beaches, and Park District field houses, which may have indoor recreation facilities. I didn't do my homework either on that.
It was already there, so it wasn't redlined for you for this one. But good catch.
If there's no other comments, you can work with us at any time. This is a living document. We can always work with you if you find a need for change. Also, if you want a printed copy, now that it's a little bit more finalized, we'll try to have a couple floating around on the dais for you guys, but if you want a printed copy, let us know. We're happy to give you one. Yeah, let us know anytime.
Sam, do you need any motions or anything like that, or?
Yes, we'll need a motion to approve, or I hope not deny.
Well, I guess then I should make my comment. I talked to
Yep.
Sam earlier, and we just made a minor language change regarding one item in terms of how it was stated. I thought it was confusing, and he agreed. So it's just regarding where your entrance is in a multi-unit building, front, side, blah, blah. The way it was worded, it was confusing. So he just corrected.
Do you want me to read the?
Go ahead and read what we wrote.
Sure. I think it was an amendment to 809 something.
B1.
Where your entrance can be oriented at a multi-unit building, just making it more clear. Right now, it says you can have an entrance oriented towards the front lot line or side lot line with primary access from the front yard. Commissioner Haynes pointed out that the intent of that is clear, like we want you to walk up the sidewalk from the street and then go to an entrance on the front of the side. The suggested language was to change it to oriented toward the side lot line with access to the side entrance from the front lot line, which I agree kind of makes it more clear that your entrance is coming from the front to that side door. So you can make a motion to recommend approval with that change, if you'd like.
Was there another change too, right? No, the solar panels you're going to look into, and
I'll look into that.
and Mr. Haugs is already in there.
That one's in there. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
look
so
into
that's the
good
only-
standing, and I'll look into the solar shingles. Those are both good comments.
So I'll make a motion that we accept the changes to the UDO as Sam has presented with that one change regarding front entrance on a multi-unit building.
Second.
Any other questions? If not, roll call.
Haug,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Carlos,
Yes.
Ewing,
Yes.
Shepherd,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes. Motion carries.
Oh, yeah. October, our regular meeting is scheduled for October 9th. We are going to be at the American Planning Association Conference in Chicago, so probably won't be able to make it back for that. If you're open to moving the meeting either that Tuesday of that week to October the 7th, or a couple weeks later to October, I think it's 23rd. That Thursday, if Thursdays are the only days at work, we're hoping to move that meeting. So maybe we'll send out an email tomorrow and just gauge everybody's availability, and then once we get that date nailed down, we'll let you know. October.
That's good.
Thank
But
you.
we will see you all on September 11th at 7 p.m.
Thank you guys for all your work.
Yes, thank you very much. Do I have a motion to conclude this?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. Meeting closes at 9:21.